All right, guys, what's going on? Not the first car ride YouTube video. Actually, it is. First car ride YouTube video. And I'm on my way to the gym. Got an open house after that. Very, very quick workout. Maybe 30 minutes max. We'll see if we can even get that much in. But something is better than nothing. It's my motto. And yeah. Okay, so I've been reading this book called The Big Leap. I found it through this other book called 15 Habits or 15 something of 15, let's just call it 15 Habits of Conscious Leaders. And they recommended The Big Leap. So I got into that, and yeah, pretty interesting stuff. You know, I've been reading a lot, like I would say over this past 6 months, maybe more. Started getting into Tony Robbins books and learning more about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and honestly just been thinking about thinking and what we focus on and consciousness and subconscious and the importance of choosing your focus, right? So anyways, this Big Leap, it's talking about basically finding your genius, you know, and different ways to find it. You got to obviously ask questions like, what are you really good at? What do you feel like you're best at? When do you feel your best? What exactly are you doing? So all those kinds of questions, which, you know, depending on how self-aware you are, those can be very challenging questions. You just don't know sometimes. And yeah, so just got me thinking a lot about volleyball. You know, I guess when I feel at my best, one of the things that I'm doing is playing volleyball. And that's probably just because I played sports for so long and played volleyball for so long at a high level. And, you know, there's nothing, I love the feeling of being on a volleyball court, especially grass or beach, where it's like 2v2 or 4v4, anything more than that, it's, you know, especially indoor 6v6, first of all, it's hard on your knees, it's hard on the joints. You got to be hitting the ball 100% every single time, whereas in grass and beach, you know, you can be more strategic and you can win off of just hitting shots, hitting the ball in the right spot. So yeah, I mean, I love just having total responsibility when I'm playing volleyball, just thinking, because, you know, there's a standard to playing volleyball. Everybody has their quote unquote position and you're supposed to stay in your position. But the truth is, you know, volleyball, you can go wherever you want, especially 2v2. You can go block, you can go play defense, you can stand in the middle of the court, you can stand on the sideline, you could stand off the court if you want. And so it's really about reading and reacting to what the other team is doing. And I love the freedom that you have to create on the volleyball court. You know, you can go to a different spot, and let's say you were supposed to cover this left side of the court, but you went to the right side and he hits it to you, then who cares about how it looks? Who cares about what you were quote unquote supposed to be doing? And obviously you're going to miss on some of those, but there's a skill to reading and reacting and, you know, doing whatever it takes to keep the ball alive. And so anyways, I want to talk about some of the lessons that volleyball has taught me, but also talk about the Big Leap. And so, you know, let's just get into one of the things that volleyball has taught me about volleyball and about just life. So the first thing is sometimes you just got to keep the ball alive. It doesn't matter how it looks, doesn't matter how you do it. You just got to keep that ball up in the air and not let it touch your side of the ground. And so whether it's your foot, whether it's your head, whether you're in the right spot, whether, you know, it doesn't matter how it looks. It doesn't matter if it hits you in the face and goes straight up into the air, or all that matters is keeping that ball in the air and making the next best play possible. So I think about life, I think there's probably seasons where, man, you just got to stay alive. You just got to make it work, no matter what it looks like. And even thinking about, being in the right place at the right time. I think, of course, social psychology, sociology, we all have traditions with each other. We all have social norms. And thinking about volleyball from this perspective and thinking about life from the perspective of volleyball, I know they're not the same exact thing, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And I'm not talking about putting other people down or taking advantage of people or anything like that. I'm just talking about not being afraid of what other people are going to think because you did something. Because if it works out, everyone praises you or no one even says anything. People care a lot less about us than we think. I don't mean that in a negative way. Anyways, I'm rambling a lot. That's okay. Person's got to stay in their lane. Just sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And if you're reading and reacting, like, it's your life. You got to make it happen. You got to go out there. You got to make a living. Whatever you want to do in this life, like, it's up to you to make it happen. And I see that a lot. I felt that a lot when I've played volleyball. It's like you could do everything according to what you're supposed to be doing, right? You could stay in your spot, wait for the ball to come to you. And those are good practices, right? But when you're really trying to win, when you're really trying to play at the top level, sometimes you have to play off instinct. And I think there's a time and place for those things. But also with life, like, you gotta put yourself in the best position possible to win. Like, if you do everything you're quote unquote supposed to do and it's not successful, then it's still your fault. You got to take total responsibility for not getting what you wanted or not achieving that goal that you wanted. And I'm sure that there are outside circumstances. I think that's a beautiful aspect of volleyball is, man, there's so much creative freedom there and you can win in so many different ways. And I think life is a lot like that. And now I want to talk about the big leap, right? Because doing these exercises, thinking about these questions, when am I at my best? It's created some angst because I'm not playing volleyball right now. And so the thing that I said that I'm best at, I'm not doing. And so certainly I could play some more volleyball, but taking those components of volleyball, what makes me feel like I'm at my best, and I realize it's when I'm giving 100% effort, when I'm taking 100% responsibility for the game that I'm in, for what I'm trying to achieve, when I'm willing to position myself in the best position possible that I think that I need to be in to win. I can do that. I can apply those things in life. And so life is a lot more complicated than volleyball. There's so many more dimensions to life than volleyball. But I'm sure those same principles apply. And then it's also, you know, there's many different paradigms to look at life and to understand life. You know, you can think of life as a game, you can think of life as a journey, you could think of life however you want to think of it. And it's just like, what's going to be not even what's the right lens to view life through, but it's about how do you want to view life. And of course, I want to view life as closely to reality as possible. If I could just view life as pure reality, that's what I would choose. We have our subjective natures, and we don't always view life through that. Of course we don't. But yeah, just, you don't have to think about life in a certain way. That's a beautiful thing. You can think about life as a game. You can think about life as a journey. You can think about life as a book with different chapters. That's what my mom says. She loves to think about life as, you know, a book, and there's certain chapters, and, you know, eventually that book comes to an end. But there's many different ways to view life through, and now I'm thinking about, what do I want to be the best in? And I love psychology. I love learning about people and helping them and shedding light. Just kind of picturing myself as a guide. And so definitely need to think through some things. But thinking about, what am I trying to achieve? Like, the game that I'm playing, I think it is valuable to look at some things like a game. And what am I willing to do to win? What do I need to do to win? And it brought me to this next idea, which is just giving your best. Every day, if you're able to just say that you gave your best, and you're willing to work on the areas that need improvement and the areas you want to grow, then you're succeeding. And that's a win for the day. You know, if you give your best in a volleyball game, that's all you can really do. Of course, you're disappointed you lost, but you gave your best and you move on to the next game. And every single day is a new opportunity to play. So